Welcome to Ride the Wave, hosted by me, Jeff Fisher, and co-hosted by Mark Robinson, in partnership with the Ride the Wave Foundation. Visit us at ridethewave.org, where we're dedicated to empowering their lives through free resources in servant leadership, mental health wellness, and how to find a purpose. At Ride the Wave, we believe in the power of every story, talent, and voice. Our commitment is clear: to bridge divides, unite communities, and build an all-inclusive, modern campus for those experiencing homelessness. So let's dive in and ride the wave of positive change together. Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining us at Ride the Wave. I'm your host, Jeff Fisher, and to my right, main man, Mark Robinson.
Hello everybody.
What's up, Mark?
What's going on, Jeff?
Good to see you, my man. All
Good
is
to
good.
be back. Good to be back.
This episode of Ride the Wave is brought to you by our sponsor, 100% Chiropractic, located in the Rockaway Mall in New Jersey. Personally, I trust Dr. Sarah and Dr. Matt with my care. They've transformed how I feel after dealing with a recurring shoulder and a hip injury I had. Their spa-like atmosphere and positive culture makes every visit enjoyable, and their personalized care really works. If you're looking to feel good and move better, visit 100% Chiropractic today. So today's guest is Larissa True Poet Anderson. She is a interface design and web developer. She's also a barber, a licensed barber, and she does creative writing, and she's in a wide variety of different arts as well. And we're going to speak a little bit today about isolation and the effects that isolation have on mental health, spiritual health, physical, just really the issues that isolation can have, and maybe some positive things too. So, Larissa, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Larissa.
So I met Larissa while getting a haircut, with Carmela, and she was another barber that was there. And immediately, I could kind of tell you were talented, and we had a little brief chat. So again, thank you so much for being on. I appreciate it. And wherever you want to start off, go right ahead.
All right. Well, like I said, thank you for having me, and thank you for just recognizing something in me. And I really feel like what you guys have going on here really resonates with me. And I'm happy to share and open up about isolation. For me, I feel like my journey began when I was young, I would say, school age, as far as I can remember. I'm sure it's been, even embedded before then, but stuff that I can, recall, I would say grade school, and then it affected me as I got older. And I didn't really realize it until I was stuck in it, I would say, for at least 2 or 3 years. I was isolating myself, and it was due to various things. And I feel like a lot of us, we tend to isolate when we're going through hardships, when, we might be embarrassed about something that we're going through. We might, be dealing with homelessness, or, not having a job maybe, or, your physical health may be declining, and, you don't want to be a burden on other people or just show a weakness. And also, I think culturally, sometimes, that can also take effect. Culturally, sometimes you might, it might be discouraged to get therapy, go to therapy. And, you might hear things like, don't share your business outside the household, or, just, privacy, it was really focused, and I think that can be, good. It's good to keep things private at times, but when you do it too much, it just begins to pile up, and then you're just left with feeling alone with so much to carry. And I feel like in my situation, I can definitely identify with that. I have gone through therapy myself, and I think there's nothing shameful about that.
No.
I feel like definitely people can benefit from therapy. And
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, and I feel like, sometimes as a social stigma, or people think like, oh, it's just, I don't need to tell some random stranger my business for them to, tell me how to live my life or whatever. There's some prejudices there that people may have. And really for me, it's not like that at all. For me, it's like I had the answers within me. I just needed some assistance. I needed somebody to point out, things that I may have already known, or maybe some things that I didn't know, and, help me navigate through a different skill set that would bring me to, function better in society. And for me, isolation, it led to me just being withdrawn. And I would withdraw because I felt embarrassed by, certain things that I had gone through. I've been through homelessness. I was homeless a couple different times in life. And, I think there's a stigma around that as well. People might think that you're lazy, you don't have a job, this and that and the other. But I was actually going to college and I had a job while I was homeless and I was living out of my car.
Yeah.
And, I was sleeping in my trunk and I was getting up early and I was literally sleeping in like a parking lot that was across the street from the college.
Oh, wow.
And I would get up, really early, make sure I was the first one in there so I could wash up and brush my teeth and, just get myself change of clothes before classes started. And I did that for a while. It was actually a situation where the landlord I was renting from at the time turned out to be a sublet person. And I had came to my house, or what I thought I was renting, and I saw a random man in there showing the house around. And I'm like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "Who are you?" And I had 3 days to get out. So I had to leave, and I wasn't enough time for me to find out my next situation. So I ended up being homeless, and no one really knew at the time.
Yeah.
So I was still, trying to be as presentable as possible, keep my hygiene up. And I felt like I just wanted to hide from the world because I felt so ashamed. I was trying to hide the fact that I didn't, get to shower, when I needed to shower. And, I figured things out. It's not like I went too long, or I figured things out, was able to figure things out. But still, it's like that's a lot to be going through while you're still trying to work and trying to,
Yeah, absolutely.
maintain your grades. And, it did become in a situation where it was like an embarrassing thing. And I probably would have had some support around me had I opened up. Had I been able to share and just been like, this is what I'm going through, there could have been people going through the same things around me. And I found out, that does happen, because I did happen to share that with one person and they were actually going through the same thing. And so we were able to kind of help each other out at the time. And that's one of those things that you don't notice unless you're willing to be vulnerable and willing to just be your authentic self and open up, because you never know where it could lead.
Yeah, it does take a village. And for me, within my career and any success that anybody sees, or just it's been a product of me reaching out for help, getting other people's opinions, brainstorming, things like that. Larissa, I do commend you a lot for doing what you did. And I've learned through relationships with Mark, just through the foundation, that a lot of people do have the drive and they want to better their lives and they are trying, and it really is systematic. There are people that don't. Some people may take advantage, or they figure they don't want to go up another level or anything like that. But, you pushing through, having enough pride to go to work and get dressed, I mean, that takes grit. That's a lot. There's some people that would give up doing. So what was the key for you not to give up? What were you striving for?
Well, it was honestly just to be stable, to be in a stable position and to have something to be proud of and, take my purpose in life. And I feel like as long as you have purpose in life and you strive to complete your purpose, I feel like that was the drive for me. Anytime I was down and out, my mother, huge thanks to my mother as well, because she was always a support system for me as so far as like I could come to her and I could talk to her about things, and she would always encourage me and say, you know what, like, don't live your life for other people. Doesn't matter what other people think. She always encouraged me to read.
Yes, that's key.
And that's like my childhood. Like, I always remember just reading was so important. And that's how I fell in love with books and fell in love with literature. And that's how I became to start writing poetry. And I've been writing so long. Like, my mom just always encouraged me. Like, I got my first poem published at age 7.
That's
and so
fantastic.
like, she just has always encouraged us to be readers. And so
you would love Tatum. Tatum was
Tatum?
on spoken word. He's a friend. And
I'll have to check that out.
he did spoken word on there. Do you have anything like that that you think that's applicable? Any of your work you'd want to share?
Yeah, like later towards the end, I can definitely definitely share some stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
And to your point with feeling isolated, and I think that it's so easy nowadays for that too. When you could sit there, you could have a screen and play video games or have virtual reality, especially young people. You have DoorDash, Amazon.
mhm.
There's really no reason for people to get out there sometimes and to explore.
It's very true.
But life isn't exploratory. The path is to the person. That's our tagline for a reason, because I feel like the enemy, I'm a spiritual person, so I look at it also as very spiritual,
Mhm.
spiritually defeating. And it's keeping people down, and people aren't getting to their purpose and realizing who they truly are. And who they truly are is an amazing gift. And they have the opportunity to really build something. And they have a creative angle, I feel like. Everybody has their point of view. Nobody's lived the same life. Everybody's fingerprints are different. So that person could come to the table and really, and I think it's from the inside out. When somebody gets dictated by the outside all the time and they're receiving too much information, I feel like you have to take a proactive approach, get to the bottom of who you are, some personal reflection, and then from the inside out, you could change a paradigm. You could change a paradigm because everybody has a unique angle they could bring to the table. And it's a shame that whether it's systematically or whether it's just depression, neglect is a big thing
Mhm.
too. Parents neglecting their kids in the home, and just the air gets sucked out of a room.
Mhm.
The environments of places, it's too bad, because if you think about, all the times that, oh, you're not doing it because of this, or you have this problem or this disease, whatever it is. Think about if you just said, you can do it. You got this. Keep going. I believe in you. You need the resources? Yeah. And it could be fun too. And I think that people dwell on what's going wrong
Right.
and the negative so much. But look at yourself. You went through something, being homeless, and came out the other side. And you're smart. You're an artist. I mean, to me, that's the greatest story. And that's the reason for this, is to get more stories like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I commend you because you went through it at a young age, and not a lot of people can be able to deal with situations, at that age, and get through it. A lot of people at that age, they're going through something, but they don't know how to deal with it or don't know how to get through it, and afraid to talk to somebody about it, and they never, it'll be a different outcome for
Right.
them
Absolutely.
versus having the courage and having the knowledge to and the commitment to want to get out of the situation, figure out what the problem is and solve it.
Yeah. And like you said, it ends up being a surprise when you communicate something or reveal yourself, how many people have similar stories
I agree.
and patterns.
Wholeheartedly.
We're all connected.
Absolutely.
We're all the same.
Everybody,
I mean,
it's like everybody goes through the same situation, but in different ways.
Mhm.
yeah, at different times. We're all exchanging the same emotions at different times. It's like
Right.
a lag in communication sometimes. But I feel like cutting off the technology, getting to the person, and there's nothing like I could ask AI, ChatGPT, anything. But when I'm asking a person their advice or brainstorming on business, there's a whole journey that's behind them, a personal perspective, something that they've been through. There's nothing better than that energy from a person. And if I was the enemy, I would put a bunch of social media up, hits to the brain and dopamine. And I would do that. I would make it easy for people to buy stuff at home, scare them big time. Because we got to remember with COVID, there was fear
Oh,
pumped in every direction
Fears, that was a crazy one.
to stay home.
And that was causing so much
isolate.
division.
So much
You
division,
know,
but
so much
isolation is the
division.
worst. Look
Yes.
at
Yes.
any kind of like prisons that do, what do you call it? Solitary
Isolation.
confinement.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the worst mental health things that
Absolutely.
could happen.
Yeah.
People go crazy. I don't think I'd be good at it. Mark, man, I would not be.
Yeah, I would.
I'd probably lose my mind after the first day.
Yeah, well,
Can't
that's
imagine being
just
a month.
evidence. That's just evidence we need, human interaction and community support.
Yeah.
And, you know, like I said, isolation can be positive because it can, like you spoke on before, it can definitely help you self-reflect, which is important.
Yeah.
We always have to self-reflect. And I know me personally, getting that time for isolation, I'm able to, you know, reflect on things and understand my emotions, process things, and move forward from there. It's just staying stagnant is what's dangerous.
Yeah.
And, you know, you have to get up and get out. You know, it's easy to fall into depression, and, you know, you don't want to even keep the blinds open. You want to just be at the house and, you know, hide away from the world, like
Video
live under
games.
a rock.
Video
you know?
games. And
It could be in the form of video games,
yeah,
you know?
it's an addiction.
And anything that's just keeping you from functioning at a higher level in life.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, I've definitely spent time doing that. And like I said, in my journey for therapy, I feel like, you know, you have to find the right therapist.
Yeah.
It's not just overnight. You know, you might have to go through a few people, trials and tribulations. It's no different than trying on different clothes. You know, you're not gonna like everything you try on.
Yeah.
It might not fit right, it might not be the right material, but that doesn't mean you can't find something that does fit right and is the right material.
Yeah, just
It's the
don't
same
give
thing.
up would be the
Yeah.
thing. Don't give
Right.
up, because you're gonna, not
Try
everybody.
again.
Yeah, because the problem there I see in people sometimes, and I tend to lean back now with all this, and, you know, what Mark and I are building, and the great opportunity we have moving forward. When somebody is shooting themselves in the foot, oh, here are the reasons why I can't, or, you know, I've never done that, so I'm not going to do it. I just sit back. I'm like, wow, you have no idea what you're capable of. And those experiences that are new, trying the new food or whatever it is, they connect the brain. Synapses in the brain get connected. That's how we thrive. And that's how we do that.
Right.
And we're a creature of habit, I think, too. Patterns.
Yes.
We get stuck in patterns.
Definitely.
Stuck in patterns and habits.
Definitely.
It's tough sometimes to break those
Yeah.
patterns. I'm always
be.
working on them. I'm always working on them.
Yeah, it definitely can be.
Yeah.
I agree.
I wanted to ask, what made you start getting into either poetry or any other of the arts that you do?
For me, it was my love for literature and reading, but it was just a self-expression. I felt like I could be my true, authentic self. I felt like, you know, growing up, maybe I was judged by the world in certain ways, but I feel like poetry never judged me. Writing never judged me. And I could just be myself. I could tell anything to the paper, and I felt like it was just therapeutic for me, you know? I felt better, for a sense of release that I couldn't really find through anything else. So music, poetry, books, things like that really just resonated with me, being able to translate my emotions through feeling. And that's why, you know, when I say true poet, it's really because it's all poetry. You know what I mean? Like, everything can be a muse. And to me, it's like, you know, write about it all. And when able to express myself through poetry and writing, I feel like I'm able to connect with others around me. And it's just like the easiest way for me to just be transparent and let other people see who I am, and like me to be supportive and inspired or inspirational, and then, you know, simultaneously.
Seems like a
Gotcha.
healthy outlet. You could relate very much as an artist.
Yeah, I'm not a poet or instrumental artist. Like, I'm regular hand sketch abstract art.
Yeah.
So I got identified with, you know, with that because I never went to school for anything. But ever since I knew that I knew how, I've been doing it ever since. As far as like doing this with Jeff, being a co-host, I never thought in a million years I would be doing something like
Neither
this.
did I. So, trust me.
I mean,
It's only been, the foundation was formed in
2020,
June 2023.
2023.
I know, it's been moving quick, man. It's been good, but I love it though. I
Yeah,
love
you
it.
guys are, I've seen what you guys are doing, and I'm amazed already, you know?
No, I appreciate that. And your support really means a lot. And getting great guests like yourself to come in and share stories, it's what it's all about.
Yeah.
It really is. It's just everyday people, but there's so many different facets, so many different avenues we can go in. You know, people to come in and showcase their talents.
Right.
Somebody like you that rap, you know, once in a while will put in a rhyme or a song, or a singer to anybody that's homeless wants to share their story, anybody that's educated. It's just every level. It's pretty sweet.
Mm-hmm.
It's a nice space we got.
Yeah. I do believe that we can help and reach a lot of people.
Yeah, and conversations like this, I mean, are so, they're so important because you seemed like when you were isolated, you were productive. So you were doing things that were feeding your mind. And I think like, just like we eat food, like a diet, you could eat junk. And you could also fill your mind with positivity, and you could fill your mind with things that you could program your own mind. You really can. I think proactively through shutting out the noise and looking underneath the hood a little bit. And I kind of feel bad. I feel bad for people that don't do that. I feel like when God at the end standing there and like, I was on that street corner, you didn't talk to me. You could have done this, you could have done that. I would rather, and I've said this before, I think Ed Milet said it, but it was from somebody else. I would much rather live through the pain of so-called failure along the way and discipline than the deep pain of regret later on.
Absolutely.
Like, I don't want to look back and say, I just gave up on this and that was it. I feel like I'd be turning my back completely on God right there. It just will never happen. This thing is like taking us over.
Yeah.
So purpose, like you said.
I feel like that's the reason how I was able to get through things. Because like I spoke on before, having a purpose, realizing I had a purpose. I think I was not productive for a certain time of my isolation. I was trying to be, and even just as far as like going to my therapy sessions, I did one-on-one therapy and I did group therapy. Even just, having the strength to just get up and go sometimes, that was like hard in itself. And I feel like me forcing myself, quote unquote, forcing myself to just do it because I wanted to see the end result. I had enough, inspiration in me to say, you know what, I don't want to be feeling this way next year. I want to be in a better position. If there's things that I don't like. I remember one time I had a romantic interest in somebody and I misrepresented myself because I was isolating. I felt like I wasn't good enough and I had never been in that position. I felt like, I'm not good enough. I'm not financially stable like I should be. I loved who I was as a person. You know what I mean? I felt like, I got a great heart. I can show up in these ways, but these other ways I was looking at myself like, you need to be better.
Do you think you wanted to, or you were embarrassed a little bit? You felt like you were in there matching up.
I felt like I wasn't, I wasn't good enough, and that made me want to isolate. And because of that, I misrepresented who I was. And I probably looked distracted. I probably looked like I was interested somewhere else, or I wasn't interested at all. And that couldn't have been furthest from the truth. And it was a missed opportunity for me because I didn't represent myself the way I really was. I showed somebody else that wasn't even, accurate. And that was on me.
Yeah.
So,
And I just thought go ahead, Mark. You want to say something?
Okay.
I thought of something that was like so pivotal and in my life was that realization, and it really, from the depth of the DNA spirit, like everything, I mean, like really came to the conclusion, and I realized that we weren't designed perfect. We were not meant to be perfect.
Right.
It's not something that we were designed for. So having an acceptance of that, a real acceptance and understanding that there are going to be what you would consider failures along the way. And I think it's just a matter of being disconnected and connected. For me, it's more spiritual. So, I feel like if my relationship with God is going, I feel much more connected. I'm upright. I want to pursue things better. But, like anything else, I'm a person that get into a rut. I have something that I do that throws me off, or, I don't do my morning routine a couple of days or do something stupid, but it's an ebb and flow. It is like a wave, and it's about just trying to get back on the horse as soon as you can, and also trying to be kind, not beating yourself up over it.
That's a big
one. And recognizing patterns.
Yes, positive affirmations are huge.
Yeah.
I feel like
self-love.
Self-love, the way you view yourself, it definitely shows up. And I feel like isolation for me, like I said, I was ashamed. I might have been withdrawn because of what I was going through. And I just didn't really want to bring negative feelings. I didn't want people to feel how I felt, if that makes sense. Like, I know I'm feeling this inside, And I might be wearing that on the outside. And it's like, okay, I don't want to call this person because I'm in a bad mood or I'm feeling down, and I don't want that to rub off on them. So now I'm isolating because I don't want to bring my negative feelings towards other people.
It's probably so common.
But we have to be careful with that too.
Yeah,
you
it's
know, there's a
common.
difference between, you know, having an outlet and having an open conversation and being authentic, and then just, you know, being purely negative. So we don't always have to look at just because you're going through something hard that it's going to automatically show up as negative. It could actually spark something beautiful that you would have never even expected.
That's a really good point. You know, one thing too, I feel like there's a lack of, and it's because people don't want to rock the boat. They feel like they don't, you know, you walk on eggshells with other people, but love tough. And what I mean by that, the environments that get created within a house. And I'll use an example of maybe a young person that is playing video games, but the parents aren't holding that person accountable. And, you know, they're real isolated, depressed. They're not getting the sunlight. You're not going and interacting with people and stuff like that, which is really the fuel.
Right.
That's really fuel that we're being cut off from. It's definitely that. And I lost my train of thought. What was I just saying before that? I went off track.
Okay.
About, you know, the isolation, how it.
Oh, the love tough, right?
Yeah.
So speaking up on someone's behalf, even when it's not uncomfortable, and having those tough conversations when they need to be is lacking. And I feel like right now, if you're a friend and so you're doing something and it's a pattern that, whether it's drinking or something that's affecting you negatively, I feel like if I don't stand up and say something and make it serious, that I'm doing you a disservice.
Right.
And we do disservices all the time by keeping silent. Silence is just as bad as pulling the trigger sometimes.
Right.
I think it's serious. I think if we held each other accountable,
that's big.
We gave back to the community more. Everybody it should be standard. I said with Dr. Bo one time, she was on the show, that I think that instead of military, 18 years old, everybody should volunteer. It should be mandatory in the community, just so there's that interaction, and then everybody's doing something locally.
And everybody's getting exposed to different things. You know, not everybody understands different walks of life. And the more you, just like they say with traveling and seeing other cultures, the more experiences you have, the more understanding you have, and it just makes everything flow better.
Yeah. What are some of the other things that you had done to get to the other side?
Well, there has been a few things. Like I had talked about therapy. I remember, I think I was, because I've been through multiple bouts of therapy. Sometimes, you know, you think like, oh, you know, I'm fine now. And then something else might creep up that you didn't, you know, work on. That's why I said self-reflection is important. But for me, I think it was just being like acceptance of myself. Like maybe there's parts from my past that, you know, I was ashamed of or this and that, but I had to realize like and love those parts of me. It's like those nesting dolls, you know, those little nesting dolls. You peel one back, there's another one inside. You peel one back, there's another one inside. And I feel like that's how we are as people. So me just peeling back all these dolls, looking at all these parts of me, I had to realize like I have to love each part and appreciate each part. Not just, you know, be ashamed of these parts, because all of those parts are part of me and they led me to who I am today. Yeah. And I always say like, it took a lot of darkness to get this light, you know, to be this type of light being. It took a lot of darkness. And I just think that being able to love those parts and say, you know what, these skills that I needed at the time, whether it was isolation, maybe I needed that at the time and that's okay. But now I'm in a different setting and I need a different set of skills. And just being able to accept those parts and say, you know what, those skills got me through those times. I needed that. I love those. Be able to put them to rest, move on, and that's it. You know, sometimes you have to just acknowledge those pieces instead of just trying to skip over them or make excuses or hide from them. We have to love all those parts of us. And even though, you know, that's the part of like, even with the relationships with other people, you know, you don't just look at the good or the bad. You know, it's a balance. It's some ups and some downs. You can't just judge somebody off of just one bad thing or even one good thing. We take a look at everything and we understand what we were in the past and who we are now and where we're going. So I think just being able to identify the storyline, love those parts, put them to rest and move on to something else. You know, it's been like that for me.
I think that's fantastic. Good points.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Definitely a good way to put it.
I think people tend to move forward and put blinders on and get busy and then maybe start a family, but they're not really looking back.
Mm-hmm.
They're not looking back. And I think that there's a lot of blessings and not enough appreciation. And gratitude is a sword against evil.
Mm-hmm.
And encouragement. And that was learned through Daryl, specifically interaction, which was a catalyst for Ride the Wave. When I met him, is if you could fuel somebody with encouragement, and if you hit them at the right time, see their eyes light up.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You really can. I feel like there's a formula to that, Larissa. I recently, without going into detail about it, like through my group that I go to
Mm-hmm.
For church, I sat down with a guy who's going through a real hard time. But I found these patterns in how you could speak to somebody.
Yeah.
You could see certain things within their facial expressions and how they shrug, and you could just maybe a little compliment or whatever, balance it out. And then when they start to look up, you fuel with encouragement. You look them in the eye and you literally like, you're going to be fine. I see something in you. What you're saying is temporary. Somebody's eyes just start to light up. And it's the most fulfilling thing because then you could feel it too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We're much more connected in the spirit than it's let out to be. And I tell you what, if I was the devil, I would isolate. I would split up everybody. That's exactly what I would do. What is happening now?
Yeah, because the strength in numbers, the strength in numbers.
Yeah.
And we know they don't want that.
Yeah, they ain't ready for all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, do you think that there's some systematic aspects to the revolving door of it being very difficult to get up when you're homeless and at a certain level?
Yeah, I think that there definitely can be. I know for me, on my journey when I was reaching out for help, it was hard for me to get help because I was a single woman without children. And so I feel like, single men could get help, even without children, they were able to get help and be able to get a bed in a shelter, things like that. But as for a single woman, like unless you had children, it was like that was like a marginalized group that kind of just you felt like you didn't really have value if you didn't have any children.
Now, would that then cause women to have children?
I've seen that.
Because of the benefits to do that.
Absolutely.
And then there's maybe more children. And then, so you've seen that.
I have seen that.
You have seen that. So basically, as a single woman, you can't get into a shelter.
Right.
But when if you're hungry, if you're starving, you have nothing. Having a child then will give you access to certain benefits.
Housing, food.
And then
all resources.
And then a kid is born, and then that kid is not raised properly.
Yeah,
and then goes through a cycle.
Could be a cycle,
Mm-hmm.
And stopping generational cycles is huge, definitely.
Yeah, and then people wonder sometimes in urban communities, or they say, "Oh, there's so many kids," or is that have to do? You think a bit with that?
I think it could play a part. I think there's so many aspects. But yeah,
I know it's complicated.
Hours, yeah.
I know. I know we're going off, but yeah, I mean that's something that. What I do, you know what I mean? Like in a situation like that, I can never judge. This is so eye-opening, and I'm so glad we're getting it out there, and people, maybe in my world can learn certain things as this, starts to unfold and go about, because it really, any prejudgments that I may have had years back from what other people have said or what I've thought are totally flipped. It's not like that.
Yeah.
It's not, and they're beautiful people out there, really smart. They're just down.
Mm-hmm.
They're just low.
Yeah, I think just misinformation, misrepresentation, a lot of things could lead to the reasons why people are isolated. But definitely identifying it and doing some changes to get out of it. I think for me, wanting to be a part of the community and wanting to help other people around me, that helped me also get out of my isolation.
Yeah.
And just healing in general, because I knew that, being depressed and, there was times where I didn't even want to open the blinds, I would literally just want to keep the blinds closed. And I, would spend time with so much trying to control things that I thought I had no much control before. So, I even struggled with like OCD. Having to have a blanket folded in a certain area, the remote in a certain place, the glass of water with this much liquid in a certain place, like all these different things, trying to control things around me, because I just felt so out of control in other areas. And, you know, at the same time, trying to hide that and trying to work on myself, I feel like now it's like affecting my social skills. I don't want, you know, people to see this side of me. I don't want people to know this about me. Or, you know, it's embarrassing to every time, like, you might have somebody come over, everything's in the same spot, you know, to like, you just look like you're just OCD all the time, you know, certain things like that. And it's like little things like that other people might struggle with, or that might not even be a big of a deal, or you might come across somebody who deals with something similar. And I just think that the more and more we're able to be our authentic selves, and actually start forming friendships. I remember, you know, being in therapy and wanting to make friends, but, you know, maybe my financial situation wasn't correct at the time, wasn't where it should be. So you have to have money to have friends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You gotta,
absolutely.
you know, people invite you out. And a lot of times people don't realize, okay, maybe this person's saying that they don't want to go, or maybe this person's not saying that they don't want to go out because they don't like you or something like that. Maybe they don't have the funds.
Yeah.
Maybe they, you know, they can't do dinner out, you know, they can't grab drinks, they can't do whatever, you know. And I think that sometimes we misinterpret things, and we, due to misrepresenting ourselves and misinterpreting other people, we might, you know, see somebody and just assume that, oh, they don't like us because they never hang out with us. And we don't really know what they're going through.
Yeah.
So I think it's important for us to just be transparent, be authentic selves, and be accepting. You know, there's so much out here like damaging things, and there's so much like negativity. Like, it doesn't take much to be positive. Why not? You want people to treat you positively, and why can't you give that out? You know what I mean? To me, it's such a simple thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like put out in the world what you would want to receive back.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, somebody that I like, I own a business, NTK Equipment too, which ties into the foundation through the culture. And, you know, it works. It's proven. So positivity in the workforce, for example, will cause more productivity.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So you, and really actually any young people or anybody right now has an upper hand, because if they set themselves aside and they're a positive person. NCK was named after Ray Marone, the founder of the company's 3 daughters, Nicole, Kristen, and Kathleen. And he was known for being an amazing person. Like always, hey, what's up? Like when COVID hit, hey, we're going to be fine. Let's just keep moving forward. And we just did our thing, and that was it. So like, to honor him, to preserve that into the culture as we grow this, it really, you would have such an upper hand in life, and people would like you more. I mean, and it's more fun too. I mean, I know love won. It already won. It already did. It's like, I really do, from the bottom of my heart. I have an understanding of love won, victory is ours, and all we're doing is walking into it. It's just not reconciled yet, essentially. So if you have an understanding that, and you realize that, and you feed yourself with positivity, and you take the time and the effort to engage in other people with gratitude and encouragement, your life will completely change. And from the inside out, you will change your entire paradigm completely, guaranteed. And whatever it is that God gave you, that's that unique creative aspect, angle that you only have, if you're not afraid of it, you can put it out right into the world too. Yeah. And you could implement and make, and you know what, go do something big too. You can. Anybody can do it. It's just a shift in perspective. You know, you and I we could witness the same thing, and I could think, it's terrible. And you could think it's amazing.
Yeah. Perception is everything.
Perception is everything.
Right. Right.
That's why I think, like, just, you know, being able to be authentic is major. And with my journey on healing, I feel like, you know, when I did take the steps to actually get outside and start trying to make connections and build, you know, positive relationships with people, I found like to be so rewarding. And I found like I was making connections with people who had been through similar things I've been through, and who are on the up and up now, who are, you know, healing and helping others heal. And I remember, like, I was talking with a friend of mine at the time, and she just said to me, and it was a newer friend, we were just getting to know each other. And, you know, people always say it's hard to make friends as an adult. You know, when we're kids, it's so easy. But to me, it's like what you put into it. It could be so easy. It doesn't have to be hard. No. But it's like, are you making the effort? Are you putting in, you know, the steps to actually grow this relationship? And I feel like people, so a lot of times they forget about platonic relationships, and they kind of just don't really build those as they should. At least that's been my experience, you know. Just
Yeah.
regular having like the just good old platonic relationships, and you know, being able to have that camaraderie and community support, I feel like is huge. So on my journey to, you know, building myself up and trying to be, you know, a part of the community, I was starting to meet somebody, and they just, I remember it had been a couple weeks went by that maybe we didn't communicate, and they just sent me a voice message, and they were just like, you know what, this is my vision of what, you know, I want a friendship to look like. This is what I'm willing to do. This is how I see things. You know, you let me know from your perspective. And to me, it was so simple, but it made all the difference in the world.
Just up front like that.
Just up front, just authentic, just lay everything on the table. You know,
like
this
that.
is my expectation, or maybe not expectation, or this is what I'm willing to give. This is how I see things. This is my vision. This is what I want.
Yeah.
And you know, to me, it just laid everything so clear. You don't have to sit there and think or try to interpret stuff. And you know, that can get stressful and that can get messy. Just be authentic, be direct, and show up the way you want to show up. And just to have that line of communication, I think is so important. And just that simple step, like to me, it just quickly changed my thinking. And I'm just like, man, that was so simple. You know what I mean? And it allowed me to show up for her in the ways that, you know, she envisioned, and allowed me to, you know, communicate what I needed from her back. So I feel like a lot of times it's a simple open communication, just like we're doing here.
Yeah,
you know
no,
what
you're
I mean?
absolutely.
And that's all it takes sometimes.
You're 100% correct on that.
It's like, it's almost like when you put your cards on the table, you give the other person the option to whether or not they want to either stick with you through whatever process or whatever you present it to them, or they decide to veer off and be like, oh, you have these going on, so I'm going to step back and let you handle what you got to handle, instead of looking at it as, well, I understand you got things going on. Let me try to understand and help you. Let me try to understand and see how we can both get through this, that, and the third, because you know, we both going through not everything, but at least one, maybe two similar situations that we can talk to each other.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Provides clarity.
Yeah, absolutely. And in isolation, getting out of that and then communicating with people and, you know, having that dialogue, it allows you to gauge your network too. So you're that honesty, if you're somebody that, oh, I don't trust that person, they have to earn the trust. No. Try something else. Try to have fun, openly trust somebody. If something does take place or happen, you have an idea. It doesn't mean you have to react, but you just like have an understanding. Because if not, and you were doing your thing on the back end, you wouldn't know that maybe the person is a certain type of way. With NCK equipment in the foundation, behind the scene, it's a battle. I mean, it always is. You know, there's been challenges that as a new business owner I faced. And I was at the Day of Development through John Gordon. Amy Kelly, shout out Amy, hope all is well, very supportive. We love you. She was speaking and she was right too. Like, and one thing that stuck, there was a couple of things that stuck from that, but that the most successful business leaders, the ones that you see that are everywhere, or the people that they are humble, they ask for help.
Yes.
And they ask questions.
And they're willing to get
and
take
they know
help.
how to ask good questions. The art of asking questions is huge.
Yes, it is. I definitely agree.
Yeah.
And you do have to be willing to take help. You know, some people feel like, oh, I don't want to feel like, oh, I need help, this and that. But I had a friend one time, she told me, you know, she was like, Larissa, she's like, you don't know how dope you are. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know. She's like, there's so many people that want to help and that are here for you. She's like, you have to use the people around you. She's like, not in a negative way to where you're like manipulating, but she's like, use the resources. If they're providing them, use the resources, use the people around you. And it was such a simple thing, but it made so much sense. You know what I mean?
Actually,
it's like, you have to use the people around you.
Yeah.
If anything, you're sort of denying the other person pleasure in a way.
Absolutely.
Because, listen, does it make you feel good to be in a position to be able to help somebody or
Absolutely.
Mark, right?
Yeah.
So that feeling is a good feeling. So people genuinely want to help because it makes you feel like you have a purpose and you're productive. You know, if you're somebody in the back end, and I used to be like this. Actually, when I was growing up, I really didn't feel like I was useful at times. A lot of people didn't know that. You know, I was always very social too, but behind the scenes, I had a lot of anxiety and depression. And so I had kind of the lonely ghost syndrome. I would walk around and I don't have a girlfriend and, you know, beat myself up. in that manner, and in a way have a little bit of a false persona at times. Behind the scenes, I've since gone past that. But yeah, I mean, I think that everybody's journey is different, but you have a choice. There is a choice in there. And if you're dwelling down the negativity, it's your fault. And it's time to wake up. And it also is time to hold each other accountable and to start to speak up for people that you love too. Yes. And it's fine. I've never shared anything personal to like anybody where they've judged me right to my face that I remember. Like, you know what I mean? Most people are pretty receptive with that kind of stuff.
And if they're not, then you weed those people out and you find your tribe.
There you go. Know what I mean? And then you lean towards people that are your network. Like it just starts to build that way. And we're building a great positive network as we're coming up with this.
I agree.
And it starts to come, if you're open to receiving opportunities, not all the time pursuing them, but if you're in a zone or a place where you're open to receiving them and you see them, the right people will get attracted to you. Yeah. And the right situations.
I agree. Yeah, energy is big. Energy is so real.
Energy is big.
And just like you said, upon meeting each other, just noticing that there's something there. And
yeah, you were quiet, but I could tell. There was something to you. And Carmela was she's so fantastic. We loved her on the show twice. And she was very complimentary and thought I don't know if she's heard your work, probably not, but just figured you were talented. And so, yeah, I mean, but that's the wave, right? Like, this is how this is forming. It's through interactions. Like when I met Carmela, it was right before my wedding and I needed to cram in a haircut and she was beautiful. So she came on the show to share her story. So it's really just that, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
it's definitely path to the person. We have to get back to where it takes a village to raise a child. We have to get back to the community it has to start in the community. It has to start within a household, within those communities who feel like there is no hope for them, right, or there is no solution for them. It has to start in those communities, you know what I'm saying, as a people, to collectively, not just one person.
Miss Rachel and TikTok shouldn't be raising your kids on a screen.
Absolutely.
It should be person to person as much as you can. And it should really, I mean, I would say first steps for anybody, maybe that will be, and you could jump in here, Larissa or Mark. If you're really in that position where you're low, looking for a first step, is just place yourself in a position just to be out to meet somebody, whether you go get a cup of coffee in a cafe, take a walk in a nice day. Sun is so important. Take a gratitude walk or a prayer walk. Meetup app or meetup.com. You can go, if you mountain bike or something, or you like to do fitness, and you just do that. You don't even have to.
Absolutely.
And so what? If you embarrass yourself around those people, then you could just find a new group.
Yeah.
But it's the effort.
Yeah, like you said, you have to get out and do something. Like for me, when I was isolating and just staying home, staying in, and it was a big thing for me to socialize. And, I had social anxiety and things like that. It was a big thing. But then when I started to do it, I started to see the benefits of it. And you just got to do a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time. And it's like, I love to hike. So, go out and go hiking. You might see some people along the way. You might interact a little bit.
Yep.
Or if you have a pet, you might take your dog for a walk to the dog park. You see other people that have similar interests. They're pet lovers, you're pet lovers. It's little small things like that can make a difference in the world and just spark a little conversation, and you never know where it could lead from there.
Exactly.
And even just opportunities like this, talking, I may have been quiet. A lot of times it's like,
you were working though.
Yeah.
I mean, you were in the zone. I didn't want to, it was like, it's not weird that you were quiet because you were doing your thing. You were working with clients and stuff. So I didn't,
But sometimes, even stuff like, to even be aware, because, sometimes you can give off a wrong impression. You might be distracted in your head. And this is why I just think it's important to just give people grace in general. Give people grace. You never know what somebody's going through. You never know what just happened 5 minutes ago, 5 seconds ago, 5 days ago in this person's life. So, we just have to give each other grace and realize that, people are going through things. We're all people. We're all going through things. And sometimes, it's just a blessing to be able to recognize that, I say now, because while I've healed and moved on to a better place, it's like I'm able to recognize that in other people. and I'm able to realize, you know what, I saw myself, a year ago when I was doing this. And so now I feel like I'm able to offer a conversation to somebody before where if I didn't experience that, I wouldn't have been able to. I'm able to identify things if I see things that I've done in the past. That might help me know how to talk to somebody or recognize something in somebody. So I just think energy is real. Energy is real, and like we can always just recognize things in people. And like I said, just please have grace with people because you never know their story.
It will go a long way.
Yeah.
I have people tell me, I'm in Morristown, so I have people tell me, I love your energy, or I love this, and you have such a. Jeff said to me all the time. He said to me all the time, "You're just too calm."
Mark has a very non-threatening vibe, like a very flat, you're very. People trust you.
That's good.
You're not a man of too many words, which probably is a good thing. I sometimes shoot myself in the foot. I talk too much, but. We kind of offset each other there. Yeah. But you know what's amazing is the kind of, out of all the people that I could have been friends with and start building this with, is how our personalities sort of offset. That's why I do think that there's something to this aside from that.
Yeah.
Like you could go, we were at that 100% chiropractic party. You could go to a party with me and be fine and mingle and you're good. Or we can go to Morristown and go in Starbucks and pitch the foundation to anybody, really, or go into the mission. So it's really at multiple levels. And there's some high level people looking at it too. So there's definitely something to it. Could you imagine, Lisa, if everybody at the same time started showing humanity and just in line, hanging out, CVS, just, I really like, I don't know, your clothes, or, started complimenting each other. Instead of just walking around acting like the other person is not a human being.
Exactly. And that can get people out of isolating and out of being withdrawn.
Yeah,
something
you never know.
A simple compliment or a simple how you doing, a simple smile can really actually uplift somebody's mood.
It can save a life nowadays.
No, it can. And even just
I do it all the time.
Yeah, it can. And just, like we mentioned in the beginning of the show, I'm a licensed barber, and, I do work with ClipDart, which is an amazing organization. We focus on improving mental health through culturally competent hair care.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So
I love that.
Basically, we go through to colleges, middle schools, different areas. We're open to do group homes, things like that. And we give free haircuts to college students, grad students, to middle schoolers, to people in need that need haircuts. And I feel like that also can be helping to draw people out of isolation. Sometimes people feel ashamed of how they look, their appearance, and something as, a simple haircut can transform them, and now they feel proud of themselves. Now they feel like they're presentable. Now they feel like they don't want to hide from the world. They want to be out because they feel confident. And I feel like it's a domino effect. Something as simple as a haircut.
Yeah, look good, feel good.
Exactly.
Is there a website?
You do good.
Do you guys have a website?
Yes, there is. It's ClipDart.com. It's ClipDart, ClipDart.com.
Yeah, go check it out. Everybody. And it's a nonprofit?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Nice.
Shout out to Kyle Parker. That's the founder.
All right, Kyle.
Yeah,
that's a great idea. I love that.
I think it also began in 2023. And since then, it started out of Chicago, I believe. And then it's grown now. It's in 26 different states. So
nice.
Yeah. And it's the only of its kind, because the only one of its kind. We're just out here trying to improve the community and mental health through, providing hair care.
Mark was looking to cut his dreads off, so he just starts saying, no, I'm just kidding.
I don't believe it.
I don't think he ever will.
How many years you in?
I was a little over 16.
16? Wow. Yeah. Trying to get like you.
Is that where you're going?
I'm approaching my 3rd year next month.
It takes that long? 16?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's 3 years for me next month.
Well, how far are you going to go with it?
As far as it's going to go.
Yeah, so in the next 20 years, we'll see.
Yeah, why not?
I stopped counting after maybe 3. But then I started, after a while, later on down the line, I started counting how long did I have these? Yeah, over 16 years. Yeah.
I think that's such
commitment.
It's such a good service. And you're right. When people are cleaned up, especially if how important do you think work is for people's mental state and
I think
contributing, getting that paycheck?
Yeah. Having stability, huge. Having a purpose.
And you need to look a certain way to get a job.
Absolutely. And, a lot of people it's expensive. You know what I mean? Haircuts are not cheap.
Mm.
And so it's a lot of people, if you can transform somebody just to be able to give them that clean cut, and it restores their confidence, and now they can actually be on a path to positivity. It's just, like I said, it's a small gesture, you know what I mean? And it can go a long way.
Yeah.
Even something as a smile, even if something as how you doing, you know, I feel like just communication, give people that notice like that they're there, that they're human beings.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I was looking up.
Me, I can honestly identify with the, how you say, the appearance part.
Mhm.
You know, honestly, even at the age I am now, I still feel certain types of ways about how I look and feel sometimes. So, but I don't dwell in it.
Yeah.
I don't let it get the best of me.
Remember the
there's a-
apartment
Hmm?
when we first sort of were early phase when we went to the apartment,
Oh yeah,
mine, that one guy.
yeah.
So we
Like-
were, because Mark really, I would say realistically, about a year or so to build trust. We didn't know each other, but I think that we've proven to ourselves that we'll like do what we say. We're kind of, so in the beginning we were just so different from our lives and everything, but it really, we're sort of connected in the spirit there, and we have a purpose that we're driven towards there. I had, so Mark, because he's an artist, he has a passion through his father, especially to design, interior design and things like that. So my wife and I, we moved into a new apartment in Somerville, and I figured, all right, well, it was really when I first met you, you could do a design drawing as a project.
Yes.
I'll pay you for that. Come to the apartment, take a look, take notes. So he was doing all that when we were there. But when we first pulled in, the car pulls up, I'm sitting down, and I remember just looking at my phone. And Mark, you were standing out the door, standing there. I didn't get out of the car yet.
Yeah, I was.
And there was a guy that came up, and the way his tone was, I'll tell you what, he was, "Oh, can I help you? What are you doing there?" And he was just standing by the car. I remember when that happened, I took a step back. I wanted to see what happened. So I decided like not to get out right away and just see. And he was being kind of nasty to you. And it really upset me because I know what a great guy Mark is. So I got out and, I said, he's a friend of mine and he's going to design our apartment. So, where apartment from? I'm like, nah, have a good day, man. Like that kind of thing. But the way his tone was, I remember my hands were shaking in the car.
Mm.
I was like,
nasty
because
coming
I
out.
don't really experience that.
Right.
And to me, I got to know him. So like it's nothing now. When Mark and I go out to dinner, I don't even think like that. I think we do though, on the flip side, we do have people that see it and get along with well. I mean, we don't really get a lot of static or whatever our differences. I mean, if anything, some people react to it positively. I think that was one situation that stuck out to me.
Yeah,
where I was like so disappointed in that people could do that.
Right,
like
because it was like he was just one of those people that automatically assumed based off my appearance,
Right.
and because I look out of place to him, he felt as though he had to question,
what was going on.
right, and want to pry and be nosy, basically. So I was like, when he first approached and he was like, "Need help?" I'm like, "No, I'm okay.
Right.
I'm all right. I'm
I've
good."
been through that.
Yeah, and that's not right. That's not right. Somebody random. I mean, it would be one thing if somebody was doing something, hassling somebody on the street or committing a crime, but just based on appearance, that's so ignorant. Like I can't deal with that, I guess.
Yeah, he was shaking.
I was mad.
He was shaking in the
I was upset.
he was literally like shaking in the car. I'm like, "It's all right. I handled it.
Yeah, and Mark,
it's all right. Just calm down.
I'm not gonna lie.
You already know the steps.
Okay, it's all right. I got it."
And I'm not gonna lie, I was testing Mark out a little bit too. I was sitting
know you
there
were.
because I
I know you
wanted to
were.
see, it was early, so I wanted to see what his reaction, and I thought you handled it very well. I really did. So I think that we need to start, everybody bleeds blue, red, or whatever, start just looking at the person. The path truly is to the person.
Yeah. I love that.
It really does. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's it. Because that was that connection
Mm-hmm.
with Daryl ever since things have been going based
Straight
on
to the
that.
point. Yeah.
Yep. Mhm.
And it's the most fulfilling. There's no AI.
Right.
There's no Google searches. There's no video games or anything that's going to give you that.
Yeah.
No.
It's very rewarding just to know that something that you've said or done or just been there in any type of way has impacted somebody positively. I was a youth facilitator for this 180 program. Like, we helped ages 12 to 17 youth, that just kind of lost their way a little bit. And then if they completed our program, then like they could have their charges dropped and they get a second chance.
Mm.
And I just remember like doing this speaking with them and doing the workshops with them and seeing how much my story impacted, just even talking to them and be like, if you truly care about your family, like you say, you make sure that you are out and to be home with them, not in a cell locked up. You want to be there for your brother, sister, cousins, mom, dad. You can't just go see them when you want to. They can't come see you when they want to. You can't just pick up the phone whenever you want to. You can't show up at their doorstep and hug them when you want to. And if you truly care about somebody, you're in a position to do those things.
Yeah.
And so it made a lot of them think like, you know what, that's correct. And you can't save them all. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I just remember there's this one young girl who is now a facilitator for the same program. And she always gives that speech on how like my speech is the reason why she became a counselor. And now she's doing it and helping other kids. So yeah, maybe, 20 or 20 are still out there, but maybe 1, 2, 3, 5 have changed. And now they're impacting the next people. Domino effect again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
And ultimately, what do you have to lose, really? I mean, you might as well go change the game if you're going to be in a situation where you'd be in prison anyway, and go that other route, the path of more resistance, because there's something that's going to break through on that other side.
Yes.
And, with all the technology, the virtual realities, the AI and stuff like that, what's the point of all that too?
Right.
What's the point of all that if the world is literally falling apart? And
It's very true.
there clearly needs to be more understanding and education about what's going on with people in situations that are homeless, because we just
1000%.
don't know. And it's amazing the stigmatism or the judgments that take place without full knowledge. But we have everything else that's coming through the airwaves about everything and anything except what truly matters.
Agreed.
Larissa, we love you. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you
You've
so
been
much
a
for
great
having me.
guest.
It's been great.
Yeah, your story is amazing.
I appreciate you guys.
Yeah,
Wholeheartedly.
absolutely. We'll have
Appreciate
to
you.
have you come on. We didn't get to any of your work that you said that you were gonna. So maybe come on again if you want to.
Yeah, we can.
And share some of that or
some of that.
talk about some other stuff. It'd be
Absolutely.
great.
And I would love to.
Yeah.
Thanks again for having me.
Absolutely. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Larissa was a great guest. You guys take care. Have a good one.
Till next time.
Till next time. Thank you for tuning in to Ride the Wave. It's been a pleasure having you with us as we explore ways to make a positive impact together. Remember, every little wave creates a ripple of change. We appreciate any support you can provide as we plan to build an all-inclusive, modern campus and empower communities. For details on how you can contribute through various platforms, please visit us at ridethewave.org. Until next time, keep riding the wave of change with us. I'm Jeff Fisher, signing off, but the journey continues.